Gangs take over Vancouver's real estate market. Plus, is commercial real estate collapsing? We're going to talk about all that today on Scale Through the Fail. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Scale Through the Fail. My name is Robert Bean, and I am your host today and pretty much every Friday. I don't know if I've had anybody host before. So listen, we've got some, what a wild topic we have to talk about today. Organized crime has hijacked Vancouver's real estate market, laundering over 5 billion Canadian and inflating prices by 5%. Experts demand action within a national registry of beneficial ownership and information sharing. So, what will happen if these high dollar crimes are ignored? Can they even be fixed to begin with? And then we're going to be talking about what's going on with commercial real estate. It's a lot different than the 2009, 2008, 2007 crash that we saw, because what happens is with the commercial real estate going on right now, there's a work for home movement. There's an actual shift of demand versus just poor lending regulations. So we're going to be getting into that. But of course, every single week, we like to make sure that you know what the mortgage is going on. So I'm going to bring my friend Larry, the mortgage guy. Larry, good morning.
What's up, boss? How are you doing?
Doing all right. So, as always, Larry, I got a question for you. What the mortgage is going on?
Actually, a lot. So I'm not sure if you guys have been paying attention, but the rates have been what they call monthly low, right? So monthly low, meaning in the last couple of months, it's been its lowest. I'm not saying it's the lowest of the year, but it's been the lowest for a couple of months, right? And I mean, it's kind of funny because we were talking about how rates were surging just a couple of weeks ago to the sevens, and they were in the sevens, right?
Yeah.
But because of the Bay failures, right, which we've already talked about, we've kind of almost beat a dead horse with that one, right? But it's still looming. The concerns of the banking sector are still there, and it's of course there's a slew of weak economic reports that are basically keeping the rates in the low sixes, which is great because I was able to lock a client like yesterday in like 5.75. So yeah, that was pretty good news.
Dude, it is good news.
Yes.
Now that we're looking at it, yes, please. More of this.
Absolutely. And I mean, it saves you up to 5 figures, whenever a rates drop that low, right? But as you can see last week, there was 6.59, which we were still happy with. We weren't like excited, but it was a lot better than the sevens. But now there's at 6.18 and it actually went up. So yesterday it was actually 6.16, right? So everyone's saying you should lock the rates. If you are already under contract, you should lock the rate. If you're not under contract, sorry. Hopefully the rates will stay long enough for you to catch up. But yeah, like I said, they were 6.18 before, but they're 6.59 last week, but this week they're 6.18, and we expect them to. Well, we'll see what happens this week, but we expect them to stay low for now.
If only if only two individuals at least were reminding people every single week to be prepared and ready to go, so that when we see a 6.18, like, that's fantastic based off of the last few months. That's a great rate, because I think the lowest, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure the lowest we saw using a 30-year fixed, not like FHA or anything like that, but like just a 30-year fix, which is what we use week over week, 5.85 or 89, right?
High nine. I mean, high fives for sure. I mean, I'm flashbacking 5.99, but we might have been a little bit lower. I don't remember.
Well, I also might confuse it, right? Because we see the snapshots, and it might have been, I looked at an FHA, which is right. Like when we go over, we'll get there in a second. But the point is that this. How do you know you make a good decision when you can't predict the future? You follow the trends. You stay ready. You have your cash ready. You have your pre-approvals ready. You have whatever you need to be ready to make a move. you watch the trends. And when you see the trends and it's in the 6 point, like we've been doing this every single week. I just taught you actually helped me on Monday about the Tennessee averages that we're seeing. And guess what? The averages are 6.5, 6.7. Okay, so then you know that if a 6.18 comes around, that is good compared to a trend. And people have to make decisions based off of relevant information, not just hopes and dreams. Yeah, but I saw 3 years ago someone got a 3.5. Okay, are you a time traveler? Because you ain't getting that, man. Like,
They also overpaid probably by 20% on their home, anyways.
yeah, and we talked about that. All right, let's get into mortgage-backed securities. What's going on here?
So as you can see, even though the mortgage-backed securities dropped by 8 cents from yesterday, they're still above 100. And I told you in the past, if it's in the hundreds, that means things are doing well. Okay. So last week they're 99.44, which is great. I mean, it's really close, but they're even better this week, right? And again, depending on what happens on today and Tuesday, the rates may stay the same based on the mortgage-backed securities. Again, this is the banking sector. People leaving riskier investments and going to more secure
So here's what
investments.
people need to do, right, Larry? They need to go and get pre-approved today if they're not. Go get your paperwork done. Go get it all done. Go see homes tomorrow and get a contract so that then you're ready to go. And then if the rates drop a little bit, you lock it. And if they don't, and we see a slight trend upward, you lock it before it gets out of control.
Yep. I mean, literally, like I told you, my client yesterday that I locked at 5.75. We actually quoted him at 7 when he first applied, and then he got a contract by some miracle on yesterday morning. I was surprised by it, and I locked him right away, and literally saved him like 1.75% in interest rates. I mean, that's a huge amount. So yeah, he got lucky. He wasn't thinking of being prepared. He's like, I just need to buy a house, so he got it pre-approved. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, I just saved you 1.25%. And he's like, that's amazing. I'm like, yeah, you just got lucky, dude.
You're like, yeah, I am amazing. Whatever. Whatever. It's kind of my thing.
But you need to be there. And that's a great advice, Robert. Look at the trends. Trends are mid to high sixes. So if you see anything below a mid 6, that's when you lock. You do right away.
Well, I learned the hard way as an investor. I learned very much the hard way when I first started investing. I think the first thing I ever did was stocks. And I learned the dangers of hopium. And for those who don't know what I mean, it's literally a pun, right? Hopium. It is a delusional hope that is almost like a high, like a drug. You just believe and hope that something's going to work. But here's the thing. When you're an investor, and when I'm not talking about an entrepreneur who, yes, they invest, but there's a belief there that is meant to be there, right? I'm talking about when you're an investor, you need to be objective. You can't be objective when you're turning around and your investment decisions are based off of hope and not facts, not trends, not needs, not data. That's a really big risk. And so, like, I see people make mistakes all the time in the investing world. And that's why I tell them the best thing you can do when it's not something predictable, like you can't punch in a couple numbers and this outcome will happen, is watch the trends. And the good thing for you guys is that at least when it comes to real estate, we do the work for you for the most part. Like, you need to still fact check. Real estate is hyper local in certain situations. So obviously, yes. But every week we are at least bringing you a general trend report, if you will.
Yes.
So anyway, let's move on. So the snapshot looking pretty good though.
Yeah. As you can see,
30-year FHA.
Yeah. Well, that's like I said. I got my guy at a 5.75. That's literally what it's showing right there.
So once again, you beat out even the snapshot.
Yeah.
Baller.
Yeah, I love it when that happens.
So you need to do a TikTok of when it's like mortgage data snapshot says 5.78, but Larry says 5.75. Yeah. And then those those pixeled sunglasses. Boom, boom. Boom,
yes,
boom,
yes.
That's what I want, man. I want you to do that every time you lock someone.
I should. It'd be a fun video.
Think about that. That'd actually be amazing if every time you lock someone's rate, not only did it go on like TikTok, but you sent them a video. of like straight up like I just locked your rate. Boom, 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 boom. Dude, that would actually be so awesome.
That would be fun. That would definitely be fun.
Please do that because that would make you like one of the coolest lenders ever. Like people
I,
would be like, my lender's so dope. Look what he sent me. I bet you people would be posting that on the internet.
that's
Dang, you're
true.
welcome. I take 10% now of everything you make.
That's so funny. But yeah, in general, if you can see, the rates have literally went from sixes to fives on certain loan products. It's just again a reflection of what's happening, right? And we always talk about the 30-year fixed conventional because that's kind of like the standard that everyone looks at. But
Mhm.
government loans do have sometimes lower rates. So yeah, you can considerably lock in the fives if you are buying with a government loan, VA, FHA, maybe even USDA, right?
Yeah.
So things are looking really good in general.
So, what do the numbers mean?
So again, we've talked about sideways, right? We've gone sideways for the last couple of weeks since the bank failures, right?
Mhm.
It hasn't gone up really
Which is still
fast,
surprising that we went sideways on that.
either sideways or down, right? Which
Slightly.
is
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
what we want, right? We always want
Obviously.
sideways or down. We never want to go up. But they're saying there's a potential volatility ahead because of the announcement Friday and on Tuesday because of the jobs and as well the CPI, right? Which are, I mean, they're expecting it to be a game changer if it does show improvement, right? Because lately, the reports have been showing lower than expected, lower growth. Like the services sector showed much lower growth, so that helped with
Yes, I
the
saw
rates going
that.
down.
Yeah, I saw services sector struggling a bit.
Yeah, so everything's pointing towards a drop in inflation and the job market slowing down, but the job reports today and what happens on Tuesday could be a game changer if it shows improvement, right? So that's why we call it the employment situation. So whatever happens in the employment situation in the next couple of days will equal what happens to the rates. Okay, but
Yeah.
because of that, volatility is possible. Okay, so like I said, if these reports take a similar tune to the data, meaning what we've been hearing, then we should still enjoy rates being under sixes. So we're literally telling you right now, Robert and I are telling you right now, if you pay attention to what happens today and Tuesday, you should be able to predict what's going to happen to the rates afterwards, right? So there you
Yeah.
go.
I I'm really I'm very excited to be doing this show with you through like the primaries and an election. I've never watched them this closely, and I'm really curious cuz we all say political stuff out loud. We just do it because I think we all inherently believe that the political system is super corrupt and super manipulated. I feel like both people on either side would agree with that. Each side always thinks it's the other side.
Mhm.
But I just want to see from an objective standpoint, like, is all the gossip, like, is it real? As we watch this data, are we going to see a trend and then all of a sudden that trend do really weird, non like data driven things in cohesiveness or in assimilation with what's going on politically? I'm actually very curious. Like I almost want to be like doing like an extra update or something. You know what I mean?
So I've been through two elections since I've been a loan officer, right? And again, there's no political, like, I'm not making any political statements. I'm not siding
Yeah,
with anything.
please
I'm just giving you
please
facts.
don't suicide Larry.
Yeah, yeah. Don't cancel me. I'm just giving you what I saw when I was a loan officer, and I'm just letting you know the rates were in the fours, sometimes threes, fours, until Trump got elected, and it jumped to the fives. I'm just saying, right? Now, I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's what happened, right? So when Biden was elected, I expected and I predicted the same thing, right? I was like saying rates are going to go up, and this is when rates were low, right? They're lower, right?
Right.
I said rates are going to go up. Because he got elected, yada yada yada. President, changes kind of, creates volatility, whatever, and nothing happened until like the second or third week after he got into office, and that's when race just went ugly, right? So from my experience, a change in presidents increases the rates. From my experience so far, right?
I mean, I
No
think
matter
some of that
no.
speculation, but the confusing part of that, and we won't spend too much time on this, but the confusing part of it, and why I really want to watch this again, is that what the stock market did when former President Trump was elected was it, it broke records. And so it's like, okay, oftentimes we can kind of see a direct correlation what's going on with rates and stock markets, because I mean it's all the same recycled money. And
Mhm,
so it's like, if it's expensive to borrow, that will absolutely affect stocks. And then of
mhm,
course real estate's a little bit slower to react. Stocks are immediate because they're day trading and stuff like that.
mhm.
um, but what we absolutely saw, like a staggering, I mean, it really was a monstrous uptick in the stock market overall when former President Trump was elected. And so I look at that and I go, okay, so did interest rates go up because the optimism around the stock market? Again, I don't care who's in office when this happened, but they're like, okay, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of uptick in valuations. We got to curb that so that these people don't get reckless. And so then I really wish, I wish I had good connections to an economist, like a political economist who doesn't, which, yeah, good luck trying to find someone who is objective. But I really love to have like a healthy conversation to like understand this a little bit deeper.
Right.
If, hey, listen, if you're watching and you are an objective um analyst in this type of data, like the comparative analysis between the stock market, interest rates, and political events, we would love to have you on the show. But only if you're objective. We're not here to hate on people. We're not here to listen. I have my political opinion. Larry has his. And if we want to talk privately about it, we will. But when we come to the show, we try to be really objective because we're serving the real estate industry, and it,
Yes.
it is comprised of all political influences and affiliations and stuff like that. But if you are someone who does that, I would seriously, or someone who does, we would seriously love to have a conversation with them.
There has to be
Especially,
there has to be someone out there like that. There
there's
has to
got to
be.
be. I mean, we're here, right? And I'd like to think we're pretty objective. I know we have our inherent biases, but I'd still like to think overall we're pretty objective. All right.
Yes.
So, man, I think this is good news. I'm really excited, guys. If you thought I was joking earlier about getting pre-approved today, just so you know, I wasn't. Pre-approvals do not cost you a dime.
Mhm,
So if someone charges for them, run.
mhm.
Go at least get pre-approved. Get your paperwork in order. Go get pre-approved. You can do it today. It doesn't have to take a week. I always laugh when people are like, it took me 2 weeks to get pre-approved. And I'm like, so you had no idea where your tax records were, where your employment came from. Like, almost all of this stuff is digital and should be readily available through a login on your account. Go get it done, because the rates are good
Yep.
compared to a trend. We're allowed to say that. Compared to the trend, rates are good right now, and they
Yes.
might even get better.
Yes.
Okay? Be ready, because like Larry just said, he's talking about 5 figures in savings.
Yep.
Okay? I like saving at 5 figures. In fact, I like saving just 1 figure, even. Like, okay, like, let's be real. So that's my advice. That's my encouragement, guys. Please, 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 just do yourself the favor. I don't make any money from this unless you want to have me help you on the real estate side, and then I got you. All right, moving on. Today we learned that interest rates are wait, what is it?
Well, they're up from the day before.
That's
That's
right.
why.
It always confuses me. Like,
Yeah.
we need to figure out a better way to do this, because it
So
always
so
like,
so maybe we need to just compare it from the week before and this week, because we are doing this on a weekly basis,
yeah,
right?
I think what we should do, I think that's good advice, is you just have you submit the week over week analysis, because
Yes.
I always get confused too, and I'm like, wait a second, we were just celebrating. Week over week. No, we yesterday over today, interest
With
rates are up by point
point
zero
zero
0.02.
two, which
But
which
week
is
over week, we're crushing it. They are
yes.
down.
And
All right.
again, I consider point zero 0.02 a sideways movement. That's like no
Oh
movement
yeah.
at all.
Oh yeah, it's so
Yeah.
small.
Yeah.
Mortgage-backed securities are down again. That's last
From
24 hours,
yes,
you know.
by 8 cents, by 8
8
cents,
8
but
cents. We okay.
they're up by like 50 cents from last week.
I like that.
Mhm.
Not bad. So thank you for watching. That awkwardness right at the end. As we'll just do week over week going forward. I think it'll make it a lot easier um, for us because that's pretty funny. Make sure to head over to YouTube at Robert Bean Official as we continue to grow, and also follow on social media. I do shorts and all stuff like that. Doing way more content. Would love your feedback. I've got some funny stuff in there. I've got some advice, tips, tricks, you name it. You can go and hate on me even if you want to. Give me the comments. I'll take the engagement. It's fine. Larry knows that life.
Yes, yes. I literally throw myself in front of the audience butt naked just so I can get hated on. That's the whole idea. Yeah,
All
yeah.
right, Larry. So now that we talked about this is some boring. Well, actually, I don't think it was boring today. I think it was pretty exciting to say we saw
Yes.
it was 6.5 down to 6.18. I'm pretty happy to hear that. That's pretty good news. But how about we talk about some funny real estate facts? I just feel
I'm
like
ready. I am
I,
ready for it.
yeah, I
Yes.
feel like that's
It's like my favorite part of the show.
yeah. I love that we added react and what the funny fact in here. It's just a good time.
Yes.
So this is what the funny fact. Random, funny, and weird real estate facts that make you go, what the FF? And don't forget, if you have a funny real estate related fact you want to submit, leave a comment and we just might feature it. All right. As always, the rules. To the best of our ability, these facts are indeed factual. But I'm going to be honest with you. Like, sometimes this stuff's really hard to fact check. So some of it's really easy. And then some of it's like super obscure that you're like, it sounds like it could be factual. So just bear with us. That's why we say what the funny fact. It kind of gives us a little leeway.
Yes.
We will be awarded points based on the scope of our reactions. The points mean absolutely nothing. This is whose line is it anyway, obviously. And then the audience gets used to award the what title. And I can't wait till I have a voice clip to play. The what? In the comments. This also means nothing other than the fact that you are loved by that fan. So let's do this. Fact number 1. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg refinanced his home in 2012 with a 30-year adjustable rate mortgage. His interest rate is only 1.05%.
Wow.
I had to say that because it was like we're talking about rates being down 6.18 and we're like cheering, and then like Mark Zuckerberg over here is like 1%, as if he wasn't already part of the 1%. Get it?
Right. Right. Absolutely. He's with a 1% interest rate. He's actually part of the 0.001% of the universe, because
Yeah,
no one has that rate.
and before we get into like the little pictures and stuff, for those wondering, why would a billionaire? I think what is it like? I don't remember, billions and billions of dollars he's worth. Why on earth would he? I think he's 14 billion. Why on earth would he not just buy it in cash? Here's what not smart people. Here's what really conscious people who want to grow their wealth do. If they can lend money for cheap, which 1% is absurd. I mean, that's so absurdly low. If they can lend that money and be lent that money and go make 2%, 3%, 5%, which with Zuckerberg, I'm sure he's making 7, 8% on investments. I mean, you're talking about 7 to 8 times the amount earning on that dollar. And so why would a billionaire do this? Because then he doesn't have all this millions and millions of dollars locked up in funds. He's going and investing them and making even more money from it. All right. So at first we're like, dang, his monthly payment must be so low, right? I mean, 1%. We're like, come on now. Until we realized that even at 1.05 interest rate on his $7 million loan, which this is the one I used as a case example, his cheapest home, his monthly mortgage, though. So what is his monthly payment? It's $26,000, $324. $324. Now, if we add taxes, which I broke it down in a monthly, roughly for where he lives, and then insurance, which again I broke down on a monthly basis, his monthly on the low end, which it actually probably is in higher because he's in California, he's in wealthy cities, it's $36,324. $100,000 a month.
Wow.
A month. That's more than some people make in a year.
Yep.
And that's just the mortgage on one of his properties.
Yes. That's like a down payment for most people.
I can't, for people who are doing good, in fact, considering most people need down payment assistance. Like,
yes. Yes.
and there's nothing
Absolutely.
wrong with that, by the way. It is very hard. I actually advocate like how hard it is to magically come up with $40K. It's like, where's that supposed to come from if you didn't have it already?
Right.
So here's the other crazy part. So right here in the middle, the March 2011, that's the home we referenced, $7 million home, right? He went and bought all of the homes around it too. So now, and by the way, from what I know, those homes are basically just storage facilities now because he just wanted privacy. So he bought all these homes around it, right? So now that
hilarious.
estate is worth $36 million. So if you want to take the math on that, his monthly is like right around $100,000 a month.
It sounds such like a Zuckerberg thing to do. Like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure I have privacy. I'm buying all the houses around me and just leaving them empty. No one can move in there.
It'll still never be as, so I don't know, troller, baller, invasive, whatever, positive, negative. But when Kanye went and bought the homes next to, after they split up, he still bought the homes next to the Kardashians, Kim, so they could just troll them. Again, maybe you think that's terrible. I don't know. That's a very difficult celebrity relationship. Very difficult to judge.
When you're rich, there's lots of things you can get away with. Let's just put it that way.
And it's hard to say. Like, we don't know the ins and outs of their relationship, and we have no idea if like the media made it look like he's crazy, and then for all we know, Kim's like, I love that he's still close to the kids, and like, I don't know, he seems like a really sweet dad, from what I can tell. And anyway, moving on. He owns $320 million worth of real estate, including multiple islands in Hawaii.
Nice.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, that's just kind of baller. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I don't really care about. I think mansions are super tacky and lame. I really do. I think they're super lame. Wasted space stresses me out. But I do think the idea of owning an island in an amazing place like Hawaii is really, really cool. I think there's just something really awesome. Just like when I watched Yellowstone, and I'm like, man, they own a national park. Like, basically, like, that's so, I don't know, there's something so cool and like majestic about it that I kind of love that.
It's almost like owning your own country. I mean, you're still subject to the rules and the laws of the country of the country that's part of.
Wait until just wait for one of our next facts then.
Okay.
Fact number 2. Up until 1986, you didn't have to buy property in Alaska in order to build a house. It was the last place in the United States where you could still take advantage of the Homestead Act, which allowed you to apply for and claim land as your own. Now, Larry, if you don't mind, what year were you born?
1979.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. So, dude, like, you could have just went to Alaska when you were a kid with your parents and just claimed land.
Like build like just a cabin, and it's like, this land is mine now.
You could just claim land, and then like, what? That idea is so foreign, and to think about it like you were alive. It's not like it was 1904 and the Wright brothers were just flying for the first time and we're transitioning from horse and buggy to a automobile. Like, this is like not that long ago,
right?
Because Larry's not old, guys. That's how I feel about like every time I hear updates like of throwbacks, and I'm like, yeah, that was like 5 years ago, and they're like, that was 20 years ago, and I'm like, no. So, time to officially build my castle. Okay, I'm gonna just go claim that land. You know what I'm saying? Like, me all excited to establish my kingdom. There she is, Kingdom of Bean. You might even call it Beandom.
Beandom.
That's me right there, obviously, just scouting out, right? And then me realizing that it's still Alaska, though.
Right.
It's
It's still
still
last.
Alaska.
Yes.
And maybe this wasn't the best idea ever. All right, back number 3. In 1997, Pepsi held a contest to win a life-size replica of the Simpsons house or $75,000 in cash.
Wow.
The contest winner chose the cash. The house was then renovated to look like a normal home and it was resold. But check this out. I couldn't fit good pictures on here. I one day. Well, so here's the house. Like you could just kind of see some of it on the look and the design. Like it looks pretty spot on. Some of the interior, like this is the interior of the actual house. Like this is how crazy. They watched 50 hours worth of The Simpsons to make sure that every single like design,
Wow.
yeah, down to the detail was just spot on. Like it had to be right. Now here's what's crazy because I'm a real estate agent, so I think this through, and I'm like $70,000 cash. They took the $70,000 cash, but the home at that time was valued at $175,000 in 1997, which 26 years later, with a 3.5% annual appreciation rate, that home would be worth over $334,000. And remember, the home was already paid off.
Wow.
So, I mean, that would have just been that 70K probably was burned within the year.
Yep.
But that equity, it's kind of like you said last week, a forced savings account.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing too is that my numbers don't include compounding and appreciation rate on home value growth either. So when a home appreciates, it doesn't appreciate 175 at 3.5% a year. It appreciates at 175 at 3.5%, and then a valuation is done, and then let's say it's $200,000, and then it appreciates that year $200,000 at, let's say, a 3.5% appreciation rate. It also didn't factor in the last few years where there were some places that got up to 36% appreciation. I know in Nashville, 26%.
Wow. That's
Right?
crazy, dude.
So if we actually were more realistic, it'd be about a $500,000 appreciation rate where this home was located. But here's the other thing I thought about too. Had they just kept this and turned it into an Airbnb,
Oh, dude. Oh,
they
yeah.
would be, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, hands down, because it's The Simpsons. It's I
Yes.
believe it's the longest running animated show out there. Correct me if I'm
Yes.
wrong. For anybody, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't remember. I know it's one of the longest because it's been around for, oh my gosh,
It feels like 35 years at
I
least.
think it's 35 to 40 years, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, more of the story. Unless you desperately need the money, buy/take the house, please,
Yeah.
please,
It should have
just
stayed in
do
the
it.
house for sure.
Like, oh, but I
I
want
mean, I,
access
I
to
mean, I
money.
mean that house itself could have sold to probably a collector, and they probably would have paid a lot more as well. You know what I'm saying? There's probably a
What then?
there's probably a rich Simpsons fan that probably would have bought the house just to have the house, and they probably would
Yeah.
have offered them more than 75K.
Dude, I would have bought the house to turn it into an Airbnb, hands down.
Yep.
Like, yeah, give me that money. So, for everyone watching, which funny fact was your favorite? Number 1, Zuckerberg's modest mansion. Number 2, Alaska land claiming. Or number 3, the Simpson house loss. I said loss because one, the house, that was, if you didn't notice, that was what the house looks like now,
Yeah.
which is, I'm kind of sad if I'm
I'm
being
sa- I'm
real.
I'm I'm actually sad about it too.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
people put so much work into this.
Yeah, it was art.
It was art. It really was. And then
Mhm.
it's like, sorry, no. So let us know. And then if you have any funny facts in real estate that you want to leave for us, just leave a comment with a random funny fact and we might just feature it in an episode. All right, now, Larry, I'm about to blow your mind. We're going to get into something crazy.
I'm excited about this.
Dude, how gangs used Vancouver's real estate market to launder $5 billion.
And we are really big as loan officers, and I don't know about the real estate side or title side, but as loan officers, we're really big about sourcing funds. We need to know where the funds come from, right?
You're gonna like
Because
this extra.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it's about the anti-money laundering laws. We're trying to
Mhm.
prevent illegally obtained funds to being laundered into real estate. That's what we're trying to prevent. The crazy thing is, we only need 2 months of bank statements. So if you're like a gangster hitman, just deposit your money today, and you just won't have to. You won't be able to buy until June, and you'll be okay.
Yeah. Guys,
Yeah.
come on now. You don't have to do it illegally. Be
Yes.
legal money launderers. Jeez.
Yes.
Right? So listen, here's the story. Shout out to I don't even remember. I think it was Nicole. If it was you, Nicole, or Misa, whoever that brought me this article, good job, because this was so exciting. And guys, I will actually be doing. I think it's a 5-part series on my TikTok about this story. Super cool. Can't wait to just check it out. Okay, so bullet points here. Vancouver's real estate market was attractive to criminals for money laundering, with an estimated 5.3 billion laundered through real
Wow.
estate in the province of British Columbia. Again, we're talking about Canadian here. Basically, knock off $1 billion right now for US dollar translation. So still an absurd amount of money. British Columbia accounts for about 13% of Canada's overall GDP and about 17%, though, of total laundered funds.
Wow.
So that shows you that there is a discrepancy. Something about British Columbia, whether it's just the laws, the regulations, whatever, made British Columbia a hotspot for money laundering. And by the way, I lived in British Columbia. Fun fact: many people don't know that I lived in British Columbia for at least a year, 2 years, I think.
Nice.
So Canada's justice system makes it difficult to catch money laundering with lax financial reporting rules and few police and prosecutional resources devoted to white collar crime. In other words, high dollar crime. Really like high dollar crime. The average person will never be, even if they wanted to commit crime like this, they couldn't. They just don't have the resources to be able to do it. Because it's so infrequent, it's very hard to justify in a budget to increase this stuff. And because it's so hard to find, it's hard to justify in a budget, right? It's pretty easy to say we need more police to go deal with this rising crime rate. And if we have more police, this will happen. But it's very hard to say we'll catch more money launderers when you already have an abysmal process for catching money laundering.
Mm-hmm.
So criminal organizations use just a hodgepodge of lawyers, shell corporations. It's just like what you hear in the movies. I kid you not, in the TV shows, and intermediaries to be the face of their illegal transactions, making it difficult to trace. Where we going with this? Money laundering in real estate inflated the cost of real estate by about 5%, adding to the already difficult affordable housing crisis in the province.
Wow.
This is where we should actually care. So at first, I was like, this is really fun. This is a fun. It is. Like, I know some people are like, money launder's not fun. Listen, you watch crime shows, you watch all this stuff, you enjoy a riveting story about crazy things happening in our world, right under our nose, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's where we've got to be consciously aware. They artificially, illegally raised the cost of real estate by 5%.
That's crazy. That's a
And
huge
again, in my
impact.
TikTok videos, I break down the math of what that looks like for the average person. For some people, that's a year's worth of their salary. Okay. Depending on price point and things like that. That's where we have to turn around and say, okay, this does impact me and you. Because if it's happening in Vancouver, you think it's not happening all over the US?
Right.
Absolutely. Like,
Yep.
no way it's not. So, this is where, and Larry actually already touched on this, there are some legislators and advocates are calling for a national registry of beneficial ownership and better information sharing between law enforcement agencies. So a beneficial ownership, and again, I'll explain this in some of my TikToks, but it is who is actually directly benefiting. No shell companies and no trusts. You can't hide behind those. What's the exact name of the person who will benefit from this transaction? Which is a very interesting thing because it really starts to infringe upon, whether you agree or disagree, it doesn't change the fact it infringes upon our right to remain anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
Protection of privacy. So if you're watching this, first I want to ask you, what do you think? Do you think it is for the US and Canada? Do you think it's reasonable for them to put these laws in place that expunge people's ability to remain anonymous, to buy with a trust. By the way, I own in a trust, and I'm not even famous, and I'm not. I own for a trust for different reasons, right? But do you guys agree or disagree about being able to be anonymous when doing transactions like this or not? Because the government came in BC and introduced a new law that with a public real estate registry with the failure to comply potentially leading to $100,000 fine or 15% of the property's value, whichever is higher. Whoo! That's a lot.
Yes.
That's a lot. And I get more into this in the series that I'm doing on this, but one of the issues that they talked about that makes it so difficult is that um, tracing money. It's like, well, when you run into a corporation, that's oftentimes the endpoint. Okay, it came from that company. And you generally don't have to, and you feel free to jump in, Larry, but you generally don't have to dig in past that because it has a source, and the source is this shell company. Now, Larry's not going to know if it's a shell company, and Larry's not even supposed to go and investigate that. That is not, loan officers investigate a source of income up to a point, and then they're not even allowed to go beyond that point because that goes beyond their scope of work.
Mhm.
Would you agree?
Yes, yes. Only time we would ever go beyond that is if we have reasonable feelings of some sort of fraud or criminal activities happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if we looked at the documents and they look like they're photoshopped, you know, something like that, right?
Yes.
It would have to be reasonable, but if it's not clearly
Right, and if
obvious,
these guys are pro money launderers, they're
yeah.
they're probably actually going to have non-Photoshop stuff. It's probably going to be legitimate documents from a company, their shell company, from their
Mhm.
illegal complicit lawyers.
Yeah, it would probably be more than likely already legitimized through their accounting and their bookkeeping or like that. We would never even know if the funds were illegally sourced or not because everything looks legitimate. It's something that we would accept it to begin with.
Right.
There would have to be some sort of obvious, like screaming red flag where we might see something like this. But if it's sourced, if it's all there, we just accept it. That's just how it is.
So this is more of a sarcastic joke, so please don't take this seriously. How does it feel knowing that your commission comes from illegal activities? So here's the thing. I'm actually kind of curious because I thought about that for a second. I was like, I wonder, with all the homes I've sold, I wonder if I ever helped someone with, uh, ever helped someone service in real estate who got their money through illegal activities. How would I even possibly know?
Mhm,
And would it make me feel guilty if I found out after the fact?
mhm, mhm.
I've been thinking about that. If you're a real estate agent, team leader, loan officer, let me know too in the comments what you kind of feel. But Larry, your initial thoughts. I mean, so you're helping someone. Let's just say they're a very average client, right? Nothing good or bad about them, just very average. And then later, after the deal's closed, you got paid, right? Paperwork's done. You find out that they were committing fraud or they got their funds through illegal means. How would that make you feel? How do you think? Sorry, how do you think that would make you feel?
So, from my perspective, I would feel no guilt because I was just doing my job, right? And how would I know if they're being illegal? And I would not know. Now, if they were to backtrack the deal and I lose my commission, that would be unfortunate, but I would accept it. I'd be like, okay, well, it is what it is. I mean, this is an illegal transaction, so the deal was. I mean, I unfortunately spent time and energy on money, but it's not my fault that they're criminals, and I can't hold anyone else accountable that they're criminals. So I would be upset about it, but I would accept it. But but if I know that it's illegal, more than likely there's already been action taken, right? They've
Well, that's how you
either
found out, right? Like,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like
So
he's
so
gonna come to you and be like, "Sucker, I
yeah.
did this illegal." Like, no, man. Like,
Yeah. Now, if he did come up to me and say, "Hey, guess what, Larry? Just so you know, I'm a hitman, and you did illegal, whatever." Of course, I would fear for my life, but it is my responsibility to report that. If someone literally told me that they committed fraud,
man, now
I'm
we get
supposed
into
to
like
report that.
ethics, right? If someone
Yeah.
tells you they're a hitman,
Yeah.
Do you keep your mouth shut and say no problems here, boss, or do you do you turn around and say I'm turning you in?
There's a chance I might just leave the mortgage business in general and just go to Vietnam and hide. That
I would be pretty nervous if someone came to me and said they were a hitman and
yeah,
I had that information. I might feel like I need to disappear for a little bit.
yeah, I would. I mean that's literally a person bragging that they kill people for a
Yeah.
living.
All right, well,
Eh
let's move on from that. So this is what kind of laid me into other thoughts is how can we make sure that our real estate market remains transparent and free from illegal activities? Now, title companies play a huge part in this. They actually do a lot because they do title checks, and that helps to verify ownership. So that helps more on the fraud side of things, identity theft and fraud, forgery, things like that, because they're going to county records and things like that. Now, don't get me wrong; they can still be duped, but a good, thorough one like is going to catch the ones that are not expertly done. Um, one is just one having a good title company involved. I'm going to be honest, and I might get some hate for this, but I've said it about every other industry and every other person in real estate too. Is a lot of title companies are very lazy. They they just sit back, they remain a ghost, they run a quick automated check, and um and 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 they're not pursuing the best for the job. And loan officers do this, agents do this, the clients themselves do this. So I'm not throwing just them. I'm just saying they play a big role. But there are title companies. If you have a good title company, they're going to look for red flags and actually research them and do something about them. They're going to educate your clients about the scams and the fraud and things like that going out. They're going to report things to the proper agency if they suspect something's going on. The same goes for loan officers. The thing about it with agents is because we don't generally have direct access to that kind of information, I think it gets a lot more difficult in the gray area
Mhm.
because a loan officer is allowed to go and trace funds up to a certain point. A real estate agent is not. We don't have access to the funds, and generally we really shouldn't because we're not the loan officer. So we might know the finances, but we're not going over their tax records, and we're not. And I don't want that information because that puts me in a liable situation. I don't want any information that I don't need to know. So for us, I think one of our main responsibilities is to have really knowledgeable people around us, like our loan officers and our title companies. Even insurance guys, by the way, can find this type of stuff when they're trying to insure properties, when they're trying to establish legal ownership, policyholders. So having the right people around can kind of help put some checks and balances in
Mhm.
for at the very least to catch some of the low hanging fruit of criminal activity. This higher end stuff, money laundering, man, that's a tough one. I mean, that's a tough one because even the government of Canada is like, this is really hard for us to address.
Yeah, my opinion on this, Robert, and this is something my uncle he ran he at the time he was running a washateria and he had employees and he talked about how they steal from him. I'm like, you know that your employees steal from you? I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah. I'm like, so what do you do about it? I was like, I just try to make it as minimal as possible, but all employees steal. It's just the fact of when you have a business, employees are going to steal. You just got to minimize it, right? So it's like loss prevention at these retail shops and businesses. So the point I'm making is that it's almost like it's going to happen, right? We can never eliminate
Just
it. It's
trying to
going to
minimize
happen.
it.
Yeah, just try to minimize it. Try to be more, technologically advanced. Have better training. Have people more alert to what's happening. But you're not going to completely stop it, right? I mean,
No.
like this article proves it. If the government has allowed this to happen, then a loan officer like me, we're not gonna, you know what I'm saying? We're not as
That's why I
sophisticated as the
said
government.
you can catch the low hanging fruit,
Yep.
and that's good because that's the good that we can do.
Yes.
We're not able to go after it. This is not those shows where this random person on the street witnesses a criminal activity and chases them down through an epic TV show and becomes a hero.
Yeah.
Listen, the hero is that we see something in our daily lives and we do something about it. We see a need, we see a problem, and we do what we can within reason to solve that.
Yes.
Whether that's reporting it, whether that's helping someone in need, like that's where the real change comes from. Because if each and every one of us did that, we'd have no homeless people. We would have almost no criminal activity, because here's the thing. The crimes, nobody wakes up and says, I'm going to launder 5 billion. It starts with petty theft. It
Mhm.
starts with minimal fraud, like what we see in real estate, very common, identity theft and stuff like that. They have friends and family who know what they're doing, and they're complicit and sometimes even helping them. You want to solve the problems? Be a better neighbor. Be
Mhm.
a better friend. Be a better family member. Go set the example and hold the people that you are allowed to hold accountable, hold them accountable,
Mhm.
right? Call them out. I wholeheartedly believe that if Larry found I was doing something illegal or just wrong, that he would call me out on it.
Mhm. Yep.
And
100%.
I tell you guys, give us feedback on the show. Fact check me. Because listen, sometimes we make mistakes and we don't even mean to make them,
Yep.
right? So I really believe that. So anyway, moving on. News or noise? What do you think, Larry?
I think it's news, because it does affect our business, right? And it's good to be aware about it. It's better than ignoring it. Is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's news in the sense of it reminds us at a small level. We're not going to deal with the 5 billion money laundering, but at a small level, it reminds us to be mindful of our role that we play in our
Mhm.
daily lives
Mhm.
as real estate agents, loan officers, team leaders, but also just as people, to not be complicit and ignore things that are damaging other people's lives, and including our own.
Yep. Just like
Yep,
you said, everyone can make a difference. Everyone can make a change by just being less complicit and being vigilant around their friends and family
that's
members.
right. So what should you do next, man? Just get the right people around you and be mindful. Don't
Mhm.
ignore things. And just so you know, like, that means calling people out who say racist things too.
Mhm.
Like, I've had clients who have said, and it's not the stereotype that you might be thinking in your head. I have had clients that they said they didn't want to be in a certain neighborhood for racial reasons. And I have looked them dead in the eyes and say, listen, you can have the thoughts that you have in your head. We all have things that we think about that are wrong. We absolutely do. But I will not be a part of you acting on those. But if you want to make a smart, educated business decision when it comes to real estate, I will help you with that. I'm telling them that it's not acceptable. And I'm also diverting their energy and attention back to things that matter.
Mhm.
Back to things that matter. Okay. It's like with children, just telling a child no rarely works. But if you can divert their energy into something else, they'll actually go down a different path. That's a statistical proof.
Mhm.
That's why they say, like, you have to, when someone's a criminal in jail, you can't just leave them in jail to rot. You need to rehab them. Otherwise, they come out as repeat offenders. There has to
Yes.
be a change. Otherwise, it's just a difficult problem. Okay, we got to breeze through this one like in 2 minutes. So we'll probably come back to this one maybe. The 1.5 trillion ticking time bomb, commercial real estate debt is maturing soon. So this is pretty crazy. This is a big deal. The commercial real estate is likely to be the next pain point for regional banks and the stock market, according to Bank of America.
Mm.
U.S. regional banks account for 68% of all commercial real estate loans.
Mm.
This makes them very vulnerable. And what we're seeing is that there is a huge drop in occupancy rates. We're still not even at 50% pre-COVID in office numbers, which you have to think, right? Like, imagine, Larry, I went to you and I wiped out 50% of your income and there was no hope that it was going to come back. How would that affect your life?
That'll destroy me.
That's right. And so a
Yes.
lot of these banks, they maybe had a buffer of 10%, 20%, but that would be like going to a landlord, right? Who's a long term and says 50% of the time your properties are not going to be inhabited. Well, crap, man, I can't afford that, because
Right.
that's not supposed to happen. But what
Yes.
happens is this is why, and this is very different than a crash, guys, and this is really important why I wanted to briefly talk about it, is that in 2009, 2008, those crashes that we saw, commercial, of course, was severely damaged as well. But it was a temporary crash. This is not what's happening. This crash in commercial real estate is that there is an actual movement change. People work from home.
Yes.
So it's an actual supply and demand issue.
Mhm.
And so that's where we see a lot of these real estate investment trusts and other things are down significantly. There's 450 billion in commercial real estate loans that are maturing in 2023, and 60% of them are held by banks.
Wow.
So if you thought that the SVB problem and First Republic and all these other banks had a bunch of issues because they had a 7 billion, right? What's Credit Suisse was like 6.8 billion or something like that. Well, imagine 450 billion and you do not have the money to pay it back.
Wow.
JP Morgan estimates that about 21% of commercial mortgage-backed securities will eventually default.
Wow, dude.
21%. Now, this is not to make you afraid, but we have to educate you. There are people in commercial real estate that are making great money right now, agents, loan officers, and landlords. It does exist, but you need to be aware of the market you're stepping into, right? Real estate's hard right now, but guess what? There are those who are thriving, absolutely thriving. So, in fact, my team and the agents in my downline and the coaching clients we have are thriving in a market where agents are getting crushed. So you can do it. We're just here to bring you the news. And the news is that there is a potential really big judgment day, if you will, coming to commercial real estate. And it may not even be these commercial real estate offices' fault. It doesn't seem like it, because just like nobody predicted COVID, nobody predicted that a mass exodus of office spaces would happen.
Mm-hmm.
The whole history of America has been built in when it comes to work settings, in an office, in a warehouse, going to a location to work.
Yes.
Work
100%.
from home people were only side hustles. I mean,
Yes.
generally, it was always like, hey, you a stay-at-home mom and want to make an extra $1,000 a month working from home. That's like what work from home meant.
Yes.
Truly.
It
Even as
was
a real estate agent, that's what it meant. I go to an office.
it was almost looked down upon. Like you were not professional. If you work from home, you don't have a real job. You don't have you must not be important if you work from home. That was the stigma behind it.
Yep. And so a couple quick questions, and we could go a couple minutes over for our react, but I feel like this is an important topic, at least to breach once, and we might bring it up again
Sure.
in the near future. So first question is, what new opportunities do you see emerging in the commercial real estate market in the wake of pandemic? Notice how I say opportunities, because every time there's a crash, every time there's a shift, there is an opportunity, and we need to be forward thinking. So Larry, just, first thoughts, commercial real estate, good chance, it seems like, based off of JP Morgan and some of these other advisors, that we're going to just see a commercial crash happening. Do you think there's opportunity in that crash?
I think there's opportunity for, of course, investors who, they're the kind of investors who take advantage of a crash, right? Like they're waiting for prices to plummet, the demand to drop, and then they're going to take advantage of it because they can get properties at pennies on the dollar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what the opportunity is going to be for those type of businesses and individuals. Now, what do they do with that space? I don't know. Right? Are they going to still sell it the same way? Are they going to improve it and maybe get a different type of client? Who knows, right? I mean, I've heard that malls are becoming like storage units for like Amazon or something,
Yeah, or even malls being redone to be internal living communities.
Yep. I've
You
heard of
take the store shops, which are all roughly the size of like a single bedroom apartment, and then you have ones that are slightly bigger that you could sell out. And I've seen it kind of reminds me of dystopian, right? Like a dystopian storyline of like apocalypse and people are in malls and they live in the malls. Like, and if you actually think about it, that could be a very beautiful thing. They have fountains, they're interior, there's walk spaces. You could have commercial real estate in them. You could still have a coffee shop inside. I mean, right now in Dubai, not exactly Dubai, but right around Dubai, they're building an entirely domed city.
Yep.
I think there's some opportunity here.
Yes, there is.
I really do.
You might actually change the way people live because of it.
And so for those, if you're a commercial real estate agent, first give us your thoughts. You can tell us you think we're crazy and idiots. It won't hurt our feelings. whether you're a commercial agent, loan officer, landlord, give us your thoughts and feedback. We're just kind of taking the data that we see, but
Mhm.
we know data can be manipulated, data can be taken out of context, or there's pieces missing. But I think there's opportunity here. I think that some industries won't always be work from home too. And that's always important to know. Some industries you do need to go into work. There's resources and tools and access to things. There's security measures. It's very hard to secure things at home.
Yep. It's actually open wide at home. Like they make us go through a lot more training if we plan to work from home.
Right. And
Yep.
so I think we're going to see that. So maybe there's a room to take these offices, buy them dirt cheap compared to their all-time high value, and then have a different way that you purpose them, you know. So I think there's something there. I also, just a random thought that came into my head is like, what if there were like micro offices that popped up that were just like tiny little offices that someone could rent out for pennies on the dollar to just go work and not have like huge, because we work and stuff like that, which was really well, and then it did very poorly, especially with what's going on. There was too much money. They built really
Mhm.
big spaces, and then they were costly. Not saying they were expensive. I'm just saying they were a cost that the average person didn't budget for. But what if we had small micro spaces, little pods, if you will, that were like 10 offices, and not super fancy commercial ones where you're paying for a commercial walk by eyeballs on it, but I'm talking
Mhm.
about just like some small ones where like it's like when you go by an apartment building, like you don't know what's inside the apartment building other than just a bunch of rooms.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe that's something, right? I don't know. So
I'm pretty sure a lot of co-working spaces or co-working companies are looking into purchasing massive buildings to occupy as co-working, right?
yeah, because I mean,
Uh,
even for me, like I'd love to have a place to be able to utilize it for anything.
mhm.
Um,
Like an
you know,
office.
yeah, yeah, a tiny office. I like that.
Mhm.
Oh, dang. Did we just let's go. Tiny offices. But I'd like to have something like that to where I could go do my show and have a permanent setup without my kids touching it.
Mhm.
But I don't want to drive to Nashville, which would be 45 minutes to an hour away from me. That just doesn't make sense. And I don't want to build it in someone else's home. Like my partner, Chris Rains, has a great warehouse, but I don't want it on his house. I want it in a place that's communal and like I can control. I don't want to
Mhm.
have to go and intrude upon his family to use my stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
But everything out there, right? Like the podcasts, you either rent a room for an hour or two, which is okay, but that kind of already exists. But I'm like, man, what if I just have a small little room for a couple $100 a month, $200, $300, whatever, depends on where it's at and the size and stuff, and do that.
Yep.
And again, people like these massive structures already exist. Well, massive is really hard right now, right? Because they're usually bought in really high commercial spaces, which means insane property taxes, insurance, everything like that. But these small
Yes.
little pods, like what if you bought a house even and had the rooms? I don't know. Crazy thoughts. Give us your thoughts. Now let's do some news or noise, actually.
I consider it news.
Absolutely. There's
It's
no
gonna
way
f
this isn't news, guys.
it's gonna affect everything. We'll
It
see.
will. It will change for better or for worse. Things are changing, right?
Yes.
What should you do next? Be aware. Go talk to commercial loan officers who do a lot in that. Go talk to commercial agents. Kind of get some of their feedback about what they're doing, because
Mhm.
they might actually haven't let you in on an opportunity that they're
Yep.
looking at and what they're seeing. And then
Yep.
let us know so we can be in on it. All right, let's do some reacts, Larry. You got time for it?
Yes, I'm ready.
Let's do it. Oh, right, too soon. Reacts, a real estate agent and his trusty loan officer. See, I need to change that, like, and have like some country, some wow, 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 right? And his trusty loan officer reacting to funny, weird, odd, and surprisingly right or just plain wrong real estate and mortgage content. Plus, learn how you can win a free gift card. Let's go. Number one, the MLS description said, "Lovely outdoor kitchen." Wow, the amount of times I have seen people embellish certain parts. Like let me give you guys a little cheat sheet right here. If they say it's cozy, it means it's exceedingly small.
Mhm.
When they say cozy, it's exceedingly small. It's a very, very, it's probably a tiny home. Okay. So when they say great starter home, it means it's trash and will need a lot of work to, to probably, or if it says good bones, okay. Well, let me tell you, if it's got good bones, it means everything that you can see is not great. So the MLS description said lovely outdoor kitchen. Man,
For a dude, that might actually be acceptable.
I'm sure a dude did that. A dude's like, listen, I want to show you how handy and smart I am. I
Yes.
put a flaming device vehicle on the side of my wood home. You can tell it's wood right there. That's a wood window frame. Let me
Yes.
put an
Yes.
open flame near a wood window frame because that's smart. How you gonna get insurance on that, huh? Excuse me. You said you needed to insure the outdoor kitchen? I'm what is that? Number 2, when your buyer says, let's meet right now, I'm ready to write an offer. I called this through the looking glass.
That's hilarious.
Because man, when they say they're ready, and you just you enter the matrix. If you gotta, you warp
Yeah.
through time and space.
Yes.
You there.
Yeah.
You there.
You manifest yourself in that moment right now. Like
Are
whatever you
you the
gotta do.
same way as the loan officer?
Not so much. The reason why is because I don't have to go anywhere. I just okay. I manifest myself in front of my computer. Is all I gotta
That's
do.
what I mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone's like, Larry, I think we're ready to get pre-approved. What do we need to do?
Yeah. I'm leaving my dinner and I'm getting up in front of my computer. Yes, that's what's happening.
Like
Yeah.
I just see you blitzing,
I can reheat my
bowling
food.
through your kids.
Oh yeah. I push my kids out of the way. I'll yank the phone from my kid's hand. You know what I'm saying? Like if I know someone needs pre, I'm like yanking it. He's crying and I'm kicking out the yeah. So yeah, I am
Please
in
do a
a
TikTok about that as well. That would be so funny.
yeah, that's a good idea for sure.
Number 3. All right, I got the video for this. We actually were able to upload the video, so let's do this. There you go. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. There you go.
Such a
Where's
great
the
movie.
lie?
Yeah, it's such a great movie, man. It really is.
I kid you not. So when new realtors 5 minutes after they get their first closing, I cannot tell you how many I've seen buy a car. Oh my gosh, which just makes me want to vomit. Like unless they were able to pay for the whole thing in cash, different story. Nice
Mhm.
job. But most of the time they're like, I just bought like I'm gonna hit some hate for this. I just bought my new Range Rover, my new BMW, like, and I'm over there like, okay, you made $5,000 for a
What
$60,000 car.
what's that saying? If you have a Land Rover and a landlord, you need to relook at your priorities. If you have a Land Rover and a landlord, you need to yeah, you
But I see
revisit.
it, man. I see it all the time. Like, it's so funny because it's the same agents that say like they're busy, but then they're not closing deals, and I'm like, what are you busy with?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to attend. I'm just so busy right now. Really? You haven't closed a deal in the last 12 months. Are you busy working your W-2 job again? Is that what you're saying? Which is nothing wrong with that, by the way. It is very healthy to know when you need to go make money.
Yes.
Right? Like it's very
Yes.
important for you to, and you should do that. Okay. But I'm saying like, don't be these guys. Okay. Even though the movie was great, they're making fun of people who do
Yes.
this, who get
Yes.
into money suddenly and do lavish, ridiculous things with it
Yes.
instead of really smart and practical things. And I think we all know how quickly their money dissipates in this, and it leaves them in a bad situation. I covered this, you and I covered this Powerball a while back, and how almost every single Powerball winner is broke.
Mm-hmm.
Lottery winner for those Powerball lottery winner. That shouldn't be happening, guys. But anyway, I thought that was pretty funny because it is accurate. And for all those real estate agents, if you were them, please drop a comment. We won't hate on you. It's okay. Nobody taught you better. I want to know, what'd you buy? That's what
Yes,
I really
yes.
want to know. Is for those. And in fact, as a real estate agent, tell me the one, like the most expensive or lavish luxury thing you bought because of like money that you made in real estate, right? In other words, I spend way differently than I did when I worked a corporate job, for better or for worse. I think it's for better. I think I'm more frugal, but there are things that I've bought that I'm like, it's because I made a lot more money than I did in my W-2 job. So including housing. Okay. So if you want to know my most luxurious thing, I bought houses
Uh-huh.
because of what I made in real estate. So let us know your like lavish purchase. Again, if you're a new agent and you did it, it's okay. Lesson learned, and share your story with others on being smart and frugal. Lisa Hanna says, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! It's Robert and Larry." Yeah, it is. Bam, 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 bam. I love that. I love that meme so much. It's so funny. Like it never gets old. Every time I see it,
It,
I'm like,
it,
yeah,
it is a great meme for sure.
yeah. We need to bring it back. It disappeared. Let's bring it back.
Yes.
I'm telling you, the locking the loans thing. I'm gonna do it for like under contract. When you get your clients under contract against 5 other offers, bum, 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 bum. Like we doing that. I don't know how to do that though. Like, is that a
I,
filter?
I guarantee you there's some sort of filter or something that you could throw in
All
there.
right, you the master. Go find it for me.
I'll find it.
And
I'll
then
find it.
I'm gonna do that because that's gonna be
No,
hilarious.
I think you have something. You're onto something there. I need to make TikToks at least every single time I lock someone's loan like that. I really should make a video like that.
Absolutely. All right, guys, vote for your favorite. Leave a comment, like, as well, and let us know which one is your favorite. Number 1, window kitchen, when the MLS description says a lovely outdoor kitchen. Yeah, right. Number 2, through the looking glass, when your buyer says, "Let's meet right now. I'm ready to write an offer." Or number 3, big spender. New realtors 5 minutes after they get their first closing. Let us know who will win. And by the way, if you would like to win something, here's what you need to do. Leave a comment with the content piece for a link to it or the actual piece itself on the post. Whatever platform you're looking on is just fine. Just make sure you also head over to the YouTube channel at Scale Through the Fail on YouTube and turn on notifications. Don't want to miss it if you're the winner. And then tune in live to see if you won. If we pick your meme and it's voted on and it wins, you get the gift card. Kid you not. So we like to have fun. Larry, what a great show. Thanks for being
Yes,
on, man. I always love having you on. You did a great job. Love the
appreciate it.
news
Yeah.
about mortgage rates. So any final thoughts, man, after the crazy things we touched on today?
You know, the commercial real estate thing has been concerning me since COVID, right? You know, because it's a ripple. I know this, right? I know if commercial real estate were to fail, that's going to affect a lot of people, and that's going to affect, I mean, the economy and maybe infect real estate, like residential real estate. So that's probably the most important part of the show, and I'll definitely be looking into it. And I think we need to find someone to talk to and find out what their thoughts are for sure.
I'm with you. I'm with you. And I'm going to reiterate exactly what Larry said, which is be hyper aware of what's happening overall, but especially in your local market, because there is differences. And then continue to learn and see what people smarter than you and more successful than you are doing, right? Because you don't want to be reactive, you want to be proactive. And we've always talked about this. Every chance we get, we say, be proactive, because if you're reactive, you lose. You always lose. So go get it, guys. Larry, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate you as always, brother. And I will see you next week.
Thanks, boss.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. That was Scale Through the Fail Live, where we give you real estate news, noise, and tell you what's happening next. We do this live every Friday at 9 a.m. Central. So don't be shy to tune in. Leave your comments, questions, and anything else. And we will do our best to feature you, support you, and keep giving you just something, a little food for thought, right? A little something for you to think about. So until next week,